Okay, so first question would be like, can you tell a little bit more about your game? Because a lot of us heard about it, like it's an album, a music album, and also a video game.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit more about it?
Sure. It's called the Birdcage, and yeah, as far as I know, it's the first album made as a game, like completely shipped and delivered as a game. It started small. We were a metal band, and we were working on a concept album, which was like a newer version of the Beauty and the Beast story.
Okay.
And then we thought, why are we making an album? And we were looking for something cooler to do. And I was working as a composer for games, so I said, let's turn it into a game. We had no idea what we were doing, and with time it was like super indie, and then with time it grew, and today it's... the best way to explain it is like imagine Life is Strange or Telltale Games as if they were a musical or a clip that you can play. And it grew with time. So today we have guys from pretty big bands who joined us. We have guys from Guns N' Roses, former Evanescence, Epica, Within Temptation, Therion, Camelot. So
that's amazing. And what is the is it already made, or are you finishing up? It's halfway.
We've been working on it for 2.5 years and planning to release late 2019. So we're aiming at August, but. You know, it's game development, so no official date yet, but that's our hope at least.
Okay, really exciting to try it when it comes out. Okay, so
yeah, me too.
It's now one of my most games I look forward to.
Thank you.
It's really intriguing. Okay, so another question. During your presentation and your topic was like you should do crazy shit.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question that comes to mind is like how much is too much when talking about crazy shit? You know, like. There should be limits, you know, like, or just sky is the limit here.
Wow, that's a good question. The truth is, I don't know, because like this whole idea of, you know, of the talk is that when you're looking at history, pretty much in every art form, then the people who really changed the world did completely weird stuff. Like take Ozzy and Black Sabbath, right?
Yeah.
This whole eating bad stuff. Like back in the day, they were Satan. They were doing something that was like. No label would look at them. No one would. It was like completely insane, and it worked. The same, you know, Goat Simulator and stuff like that. It's like if you ask me as a publisher from the business side, right? Show me Goat Simulator, I would tell you like, no. Yeah. But it worked, and as I said, like most of the people who did crazy stuff ended up failing, right? Like it's not that. You do this and then you're guaranteed the success. But if you're an indie developer, you probably became one because you want to change the world, not because you want to make money. Like if you want to make money and your best plan for life for that was becoming an indie developer, you're probably an idiot. You know what I mean? Like there are better ways. And if you're in the indie world to change the world, then do it. Don't do another, you know, first-person shooter with a small tweak. Do something crazy.
Okay. So another thought that came to mind by listening to you is like nowadays if you are an artist, like not a video game developer, but for example musician or a painter or something, for you it's kind of easier to get into the business and make something crazy, like for a musician to make a like music-oriented video game. Or for
you mean
artist.
Enter the video game industry?
Yeah, for example, if you are a struggling artist and you paint and you're looking for some new project or something, it's for you it's kind of easier to enter a video game X stage and make some video game about painting or something that's kind of crazy, but also would pick up a lot of attention.
Yeah, I think it's easier for you really to come up with a weird concept because you know a different world and stuff like that. I don't know if it's easier to get in the like gaming industry in general. Like ask artists and musicians, it's not an easy thing to do. But on the other hand, like look at painters, for example. This is someone told this to me, and it's a great point. He said like this is pretty much the first moment in history since the Renaissance where painters suddenly have an industry to work in. Like they can make money painting, which is weird and cool. And one of the great things about video games is that, it brings like art and tech and so far at least, you know, fingers crossed, money. So everyone it's a good industry to be in.
Okay. What games inspire you as a game developer?
As a developer, as a musician, because those are different.
Maybe both, if you can name both, if there is.
Yeah,
there are some games.
music-wise, Final Fantasy VII is like my all-time favorite. Actually, also like story-wise, I think this is like my favorite game ever. Music-wise, Blizzard stuff, I love them. I love the compositions there. Neil Acri, Journey, Austin Wintory, who's also here, is a big inspiration. That's music side. From the game development side, at least specific for our game, it's Telltale Games. Pretty much everyone. Life is Strange is a really good example.
Like music as an industry was always music. Like people always liked music. Maybe we didn't like some bands or some songs, but music was always like highly regarded. But video games, not always. Like video games get a lot of critique and stuff like that. So, is it harder, in your opinion, to be a video game developer? Because if you are a musician, people either like you or not. But if you are a video game developer, there could be proclamation like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like ruining children's childhoods and something like that."
Yeah, I think every time a new media was born, they went through the same thing. Like opera was bashed at the beginning. Films, like I can tell you from the music perspective that like classical composers were like looking at film composers and going like that this is shit, this is not real music. And this went for like the first 30, 40, 50 years, and today it's different. Today like film composing is one of like it has it's highly considered, you know what I mean, like people think highly of it. And I think it's the same thing for games, that you end up having those conversations with people who don't know games, and they're like, the dad of your wife, right? And he goes like, so wait, what do you do? And you're like, I'm making games. And he's like, right, is there money there? And I think people are catching up. Also when you look at the numbers, music for games, for example, is an amazing statistic. Music for games makes almost as much money as music in general. It's 15 billion.
Nowadays.
Yeah, it's 15 billion versus roughly 10. The games industry in general, we're 4 times bigger than Hollywood. We're 8 times bigger than music. And when you tell that to people, it's like, it's actually the only art industry that actually makes financial sense, at least. And I think that this thinking about what gaming is going to catch up to that. And you have gamers are getting older. I think your average gamer today is 32, 33, something like that. And also look at games, like they become more and more complicated. Look at Hellblade, right? It's a very deep, very dark story, and it's a lot more serious than Mario and what people think of as games. And I think
it's Indian.
Yeah, and this thing, I think it's just gonna grow, and there will be more and more meaningful games, more and more deep games, and at some point the world will go like, right? Because it's already the reality. It's just a question of the general public, what they think.
Okay. And talking about video games, like not only indie, but big studio, high budget titles, what do you think they lack to reach their full potential?
Damn, that's a good question. I think craziness in general. I also kind of know a bit of the considerations, from the backstage, let's call it, you know what I mean? And because the people who are working for the big companies, obviously they are the best. You know what I mean? Like seriously speaking, your AAA developer professionally is on average better than the indie developer, right? He has better skills. He's usually a gamer. He got into the industry to do cool stuff. Yeah. And then you have the company which goes like, let's take something extreme, for example, which I hope to say. Let's say a rape scene, right? Okay. You want to have rape for your story. It's important, not like just to show rape for the, for the like shock factor. You actually want to have one. It makes sense story-wise. I think in those places, like, the big companies would go like, nope, not getting there. And it makes sense because they would lose a lot of money. They would get a lot of, fire from it. Like it's. This is the main thing that's lacking for me. You can kind of, if you're in the industry, I think you can kind of feel them walking on eggs. You know what I mean? Like some places where you go like, this is less extreme than it should have been. Take Diablo, for example. I'm a huge Blizzard fan. Take Diablo 1 and compare it to Diablo 3.
Yeah.
You can kind of feel that it's more
cartoonish even.
Yeah, it's less rough. It's less like, you know, because they became a good company, like a big company, and they couldn't do this like we're doing whatever the fuck we want anymore. They just like, you know, we said, okay, no, we can't do this anymore. We need to be more politically correct and careful. And so I think this is the biggest thing that's missing for me.
Yeah. And if Disney would buy Blizzard, what would happen then? Like, okay, and the last question. Even if you do like crazy shit making video games, what is your borders? I mean, even you perhaps have some borders, some lines you decided not to cross, or not or you are not thinking like that.
We're really trying not to think like that. We have some things in the game that we know are gonna be very controversial. You know what I mean? Like we have things that we know that people are gonna look at it and go like, you can't do that. But also, like, I think part of in any art, by the way, all games is the same. You have the more mainstream things that are supposed to do high quality things that people will like, and you have the more extreme side, which is you know, in music it's metal and stuff like that, and that are supposed to push the boundaries. This is kind of so I don't think I would, you know, think there are any boundaries. Maybe, you know, the most obvious one, like, don't, you know, try to convince player that mass suicide and genocide is good. But I really don't think there should be limits. Even the things that I feel terrible about, like, I think they should exist. You know what I mean? Even the projects that I really, really hate, and there are a few of those, that you look at the game and you go like, whoa, like, nope.
Like hatred or something.
Yeah, like, you know, Second World War things, playing as the Nazis, it's obviously something you go like, nope, this is too far. But then at some point you say it is art, and I think like where the line crosses is, it's for the public to decide at the end of the day. Art should push boundaries, and it's really hard for me to say because this is something like playing as Nazi for me is, you know, I would never do it. I don't know people who would do it. I am completely against it. And but answering it generally, like, should video games have boundaries? No. I think the public and the players need to decide what the boundaries are. So, and if you ask me as a gamer, then fuck no, I'm not playing this shit. You know what I mean? But I do think it's something that the public needs to decide.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.